We're going to break it all down. Let's go game by game, and let's start with the marquee matchup of really maybe the season, at least in the early scope. And it was between Ohio State and Texas. Longhorns go into Columbus. I picked them to win it. You did not, and you were correct because Ohio State was able to hold down home fort at the shoe, 14-7. What a defensive slugfest here. And I think my biggest takeaway from this game, everyone's going to sit here and say, Arch Manning this, Arch Manning that. He's terrible. He's this. All the expectations. Kiss the Heisman goodbye. I think this is a lot more about Ohio State and a lot less about Arch and Texas. Ohio State's defense is legit and probably the best defensive unit in the entire country. And I think it's a lot more about the Buckeyes than it is the Longhorns.
I agree with you. Obviously, Arch did not play well. Like, we can get that out of the way, right? He had a completion percentage just north of 50%. Texas didn't score until there was 3.5 minutes left. He missed a lot of layups. He missed some key throws down the stretch when they had a chance to get back in the game and either tie or take the lead on that last offensive possession that they had. He looked mechanically unsound and just very jittery. I don't know if it was the moment. I don't know if it was the level of competition. I don't know if it was the environment in Columbus. He just never looked comfortable. But to your point, we know that Arch is this extremely talented quarterback. You're not the number one quarterback in your class for no reason. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's because his last name is Manning. Like, yes, but he has the play to back it up. He has the tape to back it up. Also, Julian Sayin was a top 3-4 quarterback in his class. He didn't play particularly well either, but it's because of Ohio State's defense. I think game ball has to go to Matt Patricia in his first game, replacing 1000%. Jim Knowles. Not easy shoes to fill, right? This is a championship defense from a year ago that lost so many of its best players. But when you return guys like Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, who had an insane game, CJ Hicks, who made play after play after play, like impact guys at every level of the defense, they just did what they had to do. I think that Matt Patricia coached circles around Steve Sarkisian in this game. I think Sark coached a little scared. I saw a lot of mentions of training wheels around Arch Manning, which kind of makes his performance a little bit worse if you had the training wheels on and still couldn't exactly get your game off. But I mean, Ohio State, listen, they were outgained by close to 150 yards in this game, right? And they only scored 2 touchdowns. They were limited to less than 2 yards per carry or something like that. They were just more opportunistic. They had another massive stop inside the 5-yard line against Texas for the second in a row. And last year, that's where they made their money too, against teams like Nebraska and Penn State. They cashed in on turnovers when they had to. They bled the clock when they had to. They made the plays when they had to, and Texas didn't. So it came down to Ohio State's defense being the single best unit in this game, and their offense just made the most of the opportunities when they came.
Yeah, the offense made pretty much 2 big plays, right? The big catch by Carnell Tate, and that was essentially the difference maker when you win by a touchdown as far as the offensive side of the ball goes. But I want to keep talking about Matt Patricia because I think everybody had it in their head when you talked about Ohio State, the fact that they lost a ton of personnel defensively from the national championship team, the fact that they had lost both coordinators on the offensive and defensive side of the football. And while you hear that, everyone thinks of Matt Patricia, the head coach nowadays, mostly because of recency bias. You think Detroit Lions, dumpster fire. What people forget is that he is a 3-time Super Bowl champion as a coordinator. And here he is in a coordinator role once again, doing a fantastic job. I don't think that there's any debate about it after what you saw against Texas on Saturday. And here's another stat to kind of further my point there. Statistically, defense still wins championships. We're in this era of college football, NFL football, where it's about these young, guru, offensive-minded head coaches that are quarterback whisperers and what have you. But statistically, defense is still winning championships. And let me explain a little bit. The last college football national champion to finish outside of the top 10 in total defense was the 2010 Auburn Tigers. That's how long it's been since a team finished outside the top 10 in total defense and won the national championship. And then you continue to go down that hole a little bit and you think, okay, well, what about scoring defense and things like that? And yes, there are a couple of spots on the page. I bring you to 2019 LSU that allowed a lot of points, and they were able to rely on Joe Burrow, but still just kind of continuing down the line year after year. 2010 Auburn, 53rd in scoring defense, right? This is the same team we're talking about in total defense. 2011 Alabama, number 1. 2012 Alabama, number 1. 2013 Florida State, number 1. 2014 Ohio State, 26. So again, scoring and total defense are a little different. 2015 Alabama, number 3. 2016 Clemson, number 10. 2017 Alabama, number 1. 2017 Clemson, number 1. Or excuse me, 2018 Clemson, number 1. 2019 LSU, like we had mentioned, 32. 2020 Alabama, 13th. 2021 Georgia, number 1. 2022 Georgia, number 5. 2023 Michigan, number 1 in scoring defense. And then last year, Ohio State was in that conversation as well. So again, defense is still winning championships because look at all of the elite offenses. Jaden Daniels in his Heisman year, Caleb Williams in his Heisman year. They're losing 3 games. They're not competing for a national championship. Ohio State looks like the team to beat now because of how good and how strong that defensive unit looked on Saturday and who's running the show and Matt Patricia.
I agree. And it's, again, Ohio, in this conversation, right? Like, that's why I'm not all of a sudden like backing down on Texas. Like, yes, Texas was held to 7 points, but they held Ohio State to 14 points. And yeah, their offense wasn't great, but this is now the second game in the calendar year 2025 where Jeremiah Smith was a non-factor against this Texas defense. And yeah, I think they could have hit him for a long touchdown on that first or second drive, on the 4th down play action shot. And Texas did a good job of bracketing him and keeping him out of the game. And they still lost again. Like in these 2 matchups, he has like 4 catches for 35 yards total combined, which is nuts. And the fact that they've lost both these games, it just goes to show you that sometimes it's not just about being the better defense. You also have to be making the most of your opportunities on the other side of the ball. So I think Texas is going to be fine. I mean,
I agree.
I'm impressed with what I saw out of their defense, particularly their front. I think their secondary is still pretty good. You'd mentioned that Cardinal Tate touchdown being the difference. If he doesn't make a hell of a play, because that pass is broken up. That pass, it's an underthrown ball and it's broken up and it's not PI or anything like that. If Cardinal Tate doesn't make a play that very few wide receivers in the country can make, are you looking at a 7-7 game going into overtime? And then whoever scores a touchdown instead of a field goal winds up winning the game. It's the little things, right? But the little things add up. So I look at Texas and all of the personnel and all of the talent that they have and think they'll be fine. I'm just so impressed with Ohio State's defense and their ability to make the most of every situation that they have. They are 100% going to be the team to beat. Now the target's on them, as if it wasn't already, because they just won the national championship. And now it's like they're going to be number 1 when the new AP poll comes out, and it'll be a while before they get knocked off that totem pole.
I'm with you. I think last thing I'll say on this game, and I'll say it about Texas, is the fact that they're going to be fine in the sense that this is probably the most complicated defense that they're going to play maybe all year. Matt Patricia was throwing, you look at the film on this, Matt Patricia was throwing next level NFL type looks at Arch Manning that quite simply he's not going to see the rest of the year. And I know he plays in the SEC, but I simply don't think you're going to see that the rest of the year. And maybe in the playoffs, rematch, whatever. But for the rest of the regular season, I do think it actually gets easier for Arch, and you're going to see him ease into things a little bit. And I believe they have 2 games against non-Power 4 opponents before they play another Power Conference opponent. I'd have to fact check that, but I believe that's what it is. So, again, just something to look out for. Any final thoughts on Texas, Ohio State before we move on?
I'm very pleased with what I saw from Ohio State across the board. I think their offense will be fine as well. Sayin and the rest of those guys are extremely talented. CJ Donaldson, honestly, my player of the game on offense, because that kid, I did not expect him to be the feature back, but he ended up being the feature back, and I think he's going to be one of the better backs in the Big Ten. So interested to see how both of these offenses bounce back from playing, to your point, maybe the hardest defense they'll face all year.